moths are not attracted to light.
Yeah, but they are, because they come in and they buzz around the bowl.
No, so the new science is in. In fact, none of the bugs are attracted to light. And it turns out that what happens is they have a device, like instinctive device, like a genetic device, right, that says, fly with your back towards the biggest light source. Right? So they don't do it consciously.
Right.
They just do it instinctively, right? There's a big light source, and that's how they orient themselves, right? So it's not like... It's like they just do it, right? But they're not aware that they're doing it.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. When you see the bugs circling the light, right? They don't think they're circling a light. They don't care about the light. They're not attracted to it. It's just that their, instinctive things. Yeah, their compass says, right? Orient yourself like that. And they're not aware that they're doing it. So as far as they know, they just keep flying in one direction, but they're not.
Think they're flying forward.
Yeah, they think they're flying forward, but they can't get to where they want to get because they're stuck circling the light.
But why in the daytime don't moths just fly into the sun then? Why don't they just fly up and up and up?
No, because they're not attracted towards the light. They just put their back towards the light.
I see, right.
And because the light bulb is very close, they keep going in loops because they keep orienting themselves with the back towards the light.
That's weird.
It is, isn't it?
That's really unfortunate. That's
incredibly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Apparently, you can shake them out of it by with a gust of wind or something like that.
Blowing on them.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, that works for humans too.
Yeah.
You just blow on a human
and they go away.
Yeah, that's how it works. Welcome to Talk Cardboard, a podcast about board games and everything adjacent with me, Elaine, and you,
Mothman.
On today's episode, we'll be battling a pulpy Mothman with Unmatched, Adventures Tales to Amaze, trying to resist being imprisoned for protecting a village in Witchcraft, and rebuilding civilization 5,000 years later in a frozen wasteland in Revive.
And on the bonus episode exclusive to patrons, we'll be talking about My Island, the sequel to Reiner Knizia's My City, and Elaine will be sharing her experiences with a solo game called Halls of Hegra.
Before we get into the games, though, a quick correction. In a previous episode, I said that Daybreak could only be played with China and the USA in a two-player game. Both Jeff and Adam kindly wrote in to let us know that that is not the case. US and China is just the starting or easy difficulty, but you can change them to Europe or Majority World if you want a harder challenge, and it's mentioned on the last page of the rulebook. So thank you both for pointing that out. If you have anything to say about this or previous episodes, please let us know. Elaine at nopunincluded.com.
Smooth.
I'm cutting that out. I'm not leaving smooth in there.
Why not?
Let's talk about our first game, though. Unmatched Adventures Tales to Amaze.
Did you have to say it like that?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. That's how you say it when it's
Tales to Amaze. Yeah. Okay, so throughout the entire episode, I have to go Unmatched Adventures Tales to Amaze.
No, it's just the title.
Okay, but if I refer to the title, I have to pronounce it correctly, right?
So,
okay.
Like resist.
This is not going to become annoying to anyone listening at all.
Well, then don't do it.
But I have to pronounce the title correctly.
Okay, go ahead. Unmatched Adventures Tales to Amaze comes from publisher Restoration Games by designers Jason Hager and Darren Reckner, with art by multiple artists.
We have previously played Unmatched, which is the basic version of this game. And it was nice. I really liked it. I thought it was pretty smooth. The basic idea is that you each pick a fighter, and that fighter is either going to be some sort of a... I don't know how to say this without making it sound like naff, but it isn't naff, right? A public domain heroic character, or maybe villainous character, right? Something that's a little bit, like we had Sherlock Holmes, and we had Jekyll and Hyde, and we had Sinbad and Medusa, and, all those kinds of characters. And they're sort of intermixed with other sets that have, there's Marvel Unmatched, so you could be Daredevil or Bullseye, right?
Yeah, they have some themes, don't they, sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes. But I think predominantly it's either Marvel or public domain, and correct me if I'm missing any of the the other intellectual properties that are tied to Unmatched. But there's different sets, and you can buy any set, and you can pick a character from any set and another character from any set and have them fight against each other. Or there's a 4-player team game. I don't think this is a great free player game, although again, correct me if I'm wrong. I've never played it at free player, I don't think. We tried Unmatched a while ago. We liked it, but I think you always have a sort of a slightly negative disposition towards very kind of competitive head-to-head games.
Me?
Where it's specifically you don't gel with them very well. You appreciate them, but am I correct?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So Unmatched was something we enjoyed tangentially and then sort of moved on from. Now, and I have to commend Publisher Restoration Games, because this is the right way to do a cooperative version of your game. So you make a game, it's competitive, let's say, right, hypothetically. Now, you don't do a co-op version immediately. You get it out into people's hands. People get a feel for it, feel like they like it, they play it a bunch. So you're kind of more aware with how the audience is responding to the game, how they're playing it, how they're interacting it, what they like about it, what they don't like about it, right? And then later down the line, why not do a co-op version? So this is a standalone set for Unmatched. Now, if you are a previous Unmatched owner, right, you can combine these characters that you get in this set with your regular Unmatched games and use them in your regular Unmatched games. But this is specifically just a co-op game, which uses the exact rules of Unmatched plus some extra co-op rules added on. But the basic rules are identical. They even include a rule book that says, these are just the rules for Unmatched, right? And then there's a separate rule book. These are the rules for the co-op version, right? Which, again, you don't need to reread the basic rules because they're the same. And then you can use the characters from your previous Unmatched games also in this Unmatched co-op game. There's a lot of things here that are just kind of synergistically interacting. You can use your previous stuff and it's fine, it works, and you can use this in your previous stuff as well. That also works. And the rules are the same, so you don't have to relearn anything if you already know the game. You just learn the co-op rules and go. And the co-op rules are incredibly simple. So what changes is that this is obviously not a kind of a fighter versus fighter game, and more of a fighters against a boss game. And plus a couple of minions game. So my first question to you is, as someone who hasn't been able to fully enjoy Unmatched just for the nature of what it is, do you think this is the Unmatched for you?
I like a lot more as a co-op game. Yeah, because like you said, I when there is a real head-to-head sometimes, not always, there are games that, break that rule, but when there's a head-to-head and it's quite involved, and there's a lot of luck reliant on it, like you're drawing cards or whatever, I get into a real pickle in my head, like, I think I'm winning and then I do something silly and I don't feel calm when I play it. I don't feel excited and calm. Like, is that an oxymoron? But like, I don't feel excited and happy and I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the ride. I just feel like stress. I'm trying to climb a wall. A bit stressed. So for me, the co-op version was great because it really felt like there is this pulpy boss that you are fighting, that you are part of the comic storyline of you're in the comic, you're doing the thing that they would do, and also. It was nice learning about these new characters that some of them I'd never heard of.
It's only one of the characters that I've ever heard of, and the other three were new to me, but they were new in a way that was like cool to discover, right? Like Golden Bat, the first ever superhero in the world. Like, I didn't know that, right? But yeah, it's a guy with a golden skull, right? Like what? How? Like that's predates Ghost Rider by how many decades, right? And his skull was not a flame; it was golden. That's cooler, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed Annie Christmas, who is 7 feet tall and has like a mean punch.
I mean, I had to play Annie Christmas because I'm also 7 feet tall. So
yes, you are exactly. I've witnessed it. So no one can deny that.
But it's weird that like Nikola Tesla
Yeah.
has that name been used as a character in something before?
It's
weird that he's out of IP or when it's a real person. I don't know.
No, I think Nikola Tesla is very frequently a character in like schlocky pulp kind of steampunk stuff, and he's definitely been used in a kind of fictional way, and a lot actually. Even movies like The Illusionist, it wasn't like David Bowie playing Nikola Tesla or something like that.
Maybe.
No, am I confusing the one with Edward Norton with the one with Christian Bale? You know, the Chris Nolan Christian Bale film.
No idea.
One of them had Nikola Tesla in it. Yeah,
Played by David Bowie.
Played by David Bowie.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's the Christian Bale one.
Okay.
Yeah, which I don't remember the name of anymore. It just completely escaped me. Don't write in. I can IMDb it. Thank you. What's great about Unmatched is that it's so elegant. It is, elegant is an overused word in board games. Yes, but this is genuinely elegant. You have a deck of cards that determines everything. There's no deck building. It determines everything you can do. You draw a hand of cards, and those cards say you can attack with this card, or you can defend with this card, or you can just play the card for its effect, and then you do that, right? And your entire economy is how you spend these cards, right? Because if an enemy attacks you, you can play a card to defend. And if you defend successfully or not successfully, or, the circumstances are right, you'll flip the card, the enemy will flip their card, and, you might get an effect off of it that really kind of propels you along in a good way. So sometimes you might want to defend, and sometimes you want to go, hey, do you know what? I'd rather save a card. I have a lot of hit points. I'll just take the damage, right?
Particularly if you have one of the cards that is both defense and attack.
Yeah, so some cards will let you do both. Obviously, they're very versatile, but they might have a lesser attack value. So it's a very simple game. You move, there's melee attacks or ranged attacks. What can you attack in ranged? Whatever is in the same color circle as you are, right? It's as simple as that. So that elegantness is then further transposed onto this cooperative game where you're battling like a AI controlled boss. Like whenever there's like any ties between decisions, like the enemy will always move towards the closest character. But what if two are equidistant? You choose. What if the two viable paths? You choose. You choose everything. So it's
quite free.
It's very free. It's very simple and strategic in that way.
And I understand what you mean, kind of by elegant with that. That there's not a lot of little rules about, well, it's the closest one, but is it the closest one? It's the one with this token, but you will give that token to someone else if X, Y, Z. Do you know what I mean?
Like there's none of that. Yeah.
None of that. It's very clean in that way.
And I think what I like about it is that a lot of Unmatched is just like a lot of flipping simultaneous cards. Like everyone pitches cards face down, flips it. It's an exciting moment. I think, and this is going to come up again in this podcast episode, board games sometimes forget how much fun it is to reveal things, right? So I like that, right?
Yes.
It's always punchy.
And in the cooperative version, that is really fun. When there's competition, when it's a competitive game, that bit is the bit that gives me the jitters sometimes, like revealing. But in this, because you're on the same team as each other, you're both going, oh yes, this is great, or oh no, this is not what I wanted, or and you're kind of collaboratively celebrating or commiserating, and I like that energy that it gives.
I do have to say that our first game of a match was a little miserable, right? We were not familiar with the system much at all. We played Unmatched, but it was really quite a while ago, years ago, right? And I think it was miserable because our card economy soon dwindled out, right? There was some of the setup is randomized. You can pick whichever boss you're going to fight against. There's only 2 in this box, but I am sure there will be more of these boxes.
But lots of different minions, too.
Yeah, but lots of different minions. So you pick either the Mothman or the UFO flying saucer alien thing, right? And you then pick either randomly or whichever you want, 2 out of 6 available minions, right? And then the minions will do things, they'll activate as well as enemies, and you don't have to take them out. But, if you take them out, then the enemies do less things against you, but you have to take out the boss to win.
And that was partly our mistake, because one of the minions we didn't attack first, and we probably should have, because that is what destroyed our game, I think.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things that I've learned from that first disastrous game was that, it's not necessarily that important to deal with the minions. You just kind of want more to circumvent what they're doing, tactically, because the initiative system, again, very clean. For the entire round, you have 1 initiative card for every participant. So you draw a card and it's like, player 1. Oh, okay, player 1 goes. And then you draw a card and it's the blob, which is one of the minions. Okay, the blob goes, right? But then all the enemy initiative cards also have an end of round effect. So once all the cards have been drawn, the end of round effects are going to trigger on all these cards. And majority of what they do really that is bad to you is these end of round effects. And by playing smart, by anticipating what they can do and where you move, maybe you can block them somewhere so they can't enter your zone or something. You can engineer something clever and avoid most of the damage that these minions do, and just focus spending your cards to do damage to the main boss, right? Now, the main boss, we just played against the Mothman. We actually never played against the flying saucer thing, because we're like, no, we still haven't gotten this down. Let's deal with the first one, right? The Mothman is trying to destroy these bridges. I don't know why the Mothman is destroying bridges. I don't know anything about the Mothman, but he is, right? So, and these bridges are kind of good for you because they let you do positive effects, right? Like let you draw more cards and stuff like that. So you want to slow down the threat meter so the Mothman doesn't destroy bridges. There's a lot of things to think about, right? And if you're not familiar with the tactical nuances of the system, like the first game was miserable in such a way where it's like we played like a third of it, and by the end of that third, we knew we lost, but there was 2/3 more of the game. And it was just like, okay, let's slog through this, right? But then the second game, once we kind of got the hang of our characters, once we kind of assessed their options and what they can do, it was actually quite tactically fun and not that difficult.
And I think from that second game, we were working together better as a team. I think the first game, like you said, we were kind of figuring out what our abilities did, what their abilities did, and we weren't really tag teaming it as well as we could have been.
Well, I just had this feeling in my first game. It's like maybe like not much is happening here. Maybe it's all just down to like luck and card draw, and there's always some of that, right? But no, I was happily reaffirmed that actually quite a lot tactically is going on for this like very streamlined, elegant game. So it was nice. I had a good time with Tales to Amaze. I still not sure like I'm head over heels with this system. But I think if you are, this is a really nice treat for fans of the game who wanted a co-op version, because, I think by now the designers of Unmatched understand Unmatched pretty well. Because
for sure.
They know what makes it tick. They know what makes it fun. They've designed many sets by now, so they know what's going on. And then after that, put out a co-op version. I think that's very admirable and a good way of doing it, rather than like, here's a Kickstarter for a new game, and also there's a co-op mode, and also, no, like let's find out if people want this game first, if they like it, and then let's find out, ourselves as designers, what really makes it tick, how people respond to it, right? And then we can distill that into like this new version of the game. And if someone doesn't want a co-op version of Unmatched, they don't have to buy it, right? Like this is cool. I like this.
Yeah, I don't think it matters whether you know who the characters are or not.
Well, you want some connection and familiarity,
Right, but I didn't really know any of these characters, but it's
well, you knew Tesla, right?
Well, as a scientist, yeah, I don't know what he's like in Pulp Fiction though.
Sure.
But it made me just want to read more about them and find out more about them. So I don't think it matters.
Did you read more about them? I just got a fuh from you.
Not yet, no, because we've been busy playing games for the podcast.
All right, okay.
But I like, it makes me want to read more comics. I like those sort of pulpy comics anyway, like Tales of Suspense or, those kinds of things. So, yeah, it's made me want to just find out more about these characters. Before we move on to the next game, Seamus wrote in to say, "Hello, really enjoy the podcast. Thanks for being such thoughtful voices in this space. I agreed on your Daybreak points in the most recent episode. One bit about the pulp storage boxes, I understand why they feel inconvenient, but if people care, it's incredibly easy to improve them. I subdivided the cartons with some cardboard cereal boxes, just required a couple of minutes of measuring, cutting and folding. Dead simple and dirt cheap. And to a larger point, there are so many boxes and containers that pass through our hands and immediately get recycled or tossed. It's remarkably easy to turn many of them into component trays and boxes. Boxes that smartphones come in are great for this. A little bit of resourcefulness can do wonders. No need to buy plastic containers over and over." They also included a couple of pictures of ones that they made earlier in the email. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's great. Using old cardboard boxes to make a game better.
I think that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Talking of emails, last episode we asked people to write in their thoughts and feelings about shame, and I just wanted to thank everyone that wrote in. Some amazing emails came in that we were excited to dive into and talk about. However, there is so much to actually discuss on this subject that we decided we're going to have to do a standalone episode on just like this subject alone. So soon, not immediately, but soon in the future, we'll have an episode where we will go over what people wrote in with and, our own thoughts and feelings about it. So, and if you still want to write in anything, if you've experienced feelings of shame tied in any way as being a part of this hobby, and you don't mind sharing, don't feel obligated, right? Write into elaine@nopunIncluded.com.
Our next game is
Witchcraft,
which comes from publisher.
That was terrible. Sorry, I'm sorry. We practiced this, but that was genuinely terrible.
It's too late now. It's recorded forever. Which comes from publisher Salt and Pepper Games by designers Trevor Benjamin, Roger Tankersley and David Thompson, with art by Albert Montez.
We've discussed the prequel to this game. That's not how prequels work, but the first iteration of this game called Resist. And now it's Witchcraft.
That was better.
Yeah, that was better, wasn't it? And we liked it.
Yes.
But at the end of that segment, in that episode where we discussed Resist, I had some reservations about Resist. And just kind of, I don't know, there was something about it that felt like a one and done kind of situation, I enjoyed it. It was nice. It was fine. I didn't feel the impetus to return to it as a challenge. There was something fundamentally about it that felt like an experience that you experience and then you move away from.
Yes, I know you did. And before you move on to what the game is about, apart from the theme, the setting of this game being a change, the other big change about this game is the end game, in that you don't have like a ladder of scoring, like you either win or you lose. There is some variation in that. Yeah, there's like win, draw, lose horribly.
Yeah, right.
There's not kind of that progression that, and I think is something that you bounce off sometimes.
Maybe no. I like shoot the score. I just didn't think that the shoot the score aspect of it was implemented well, right? So they have done away with that, but they have also introduced a lot of new, very small elements that are changes to the system that I actually have like great impact and felt overall like Witchcraft was the experience that Resist was always meant to be, right? Now, the artwork is equally good. The setting is very different, right? So the setting is, it's a fantastical setting. It's not a real world setting, because whilst it uses the broad oeuvre of the sort of, witch trials in the olden times, it kind of assumes that the witches are real and you are playing as these witches, right?
Yeah.
But the objective is to, I think, stop this like puritanical ideal of this trial itself, right?
Yeah, right. Like what you're doing is, so you are these people and they think you're witches, and you're trying to, because there's things going wrong in the town. In Wildy Green is the town's name, village.
Wildy Green.
Wildy Green, whatever.
Yeah.
Like Wildy Beast, anyway,
Yeah.
whatever. And these people think that you are responsible for all the bad stuff that's happening because they think you're witches. But you're saying, no, we're protecting this village. We're the good people, really.
Yeah.
So you're kind of going up against these jurors and trying to convince them or trying to prove to them that you're good. And so when you eventually go to trial, you've got enough support from them to succeed at the trial.
One of them is literally like the axe man, like just the dude with an axe. And like
He seems friendly.
Yeah, he seems friendly. How do I convince him? So I did this very lopsidedly. I don't think I can do the setting justice, but let me just say that some of the thoughtful write-ups from the designers in terms of the setting and theme and the artwork as well, which is very good, do the setting justice and make it come across right, because it is a tricky setting. It's involving a lot of real world history that wasn't so great, and also a lot of cultural symbolism, religious symbolism as well, and I think it does that thoughtfully and carefully, and I liked it. I thought it was very strong, So the setting is compelling because of that, because it's done well. It's immediately a setting that's like, yes, okay, I'm behind this idea. I'm enjoying this, right? And then the gameplay is really good as well. So if you haven't listened to our previous episode where we discussed Resist, this is a solo only game. And in this game, a deck building game, you have these big cards, right? And you need to send these big cards onto missions, right? And via these missions of like doing good deeds, I guess, right? You are hopefully going to like increase your own reputation with the various jurors, right? So when you send these cards, you draw a hand of cards. Some of them might be duff because they're curses, so they don't do anything. Some of them might be witches that you're gonna draw, and each card is double-sided. It has a hidden side and a revealed side. So the revealed side is generally more powerful than the hidden side. But if you play it for the revealed side, it goes to the jail pile. Whereas, because you reveal yourself to be an actual witch, right? Whereas the hidden side is sometimes less effective. Although, how and what you play kind of depends. There's a lot of combinations that do interesting things. The hidden side means that the card goes back into your deck, right? Which generally you want because you don't have that many cards. And the less cards you have, the more often you're going to draw curses, because that's how statistics works.
And the more curses you put in there, the more curses you will draw.
But the problem is when you send these witches to these missions, not only do you need to beat the mission's power, there's also like these hidden cards that are various obstacles.
Challenges.
Yeah, challenges. Sometimes they might be good things, right? Like you can get this familiar, right? And sometimes they might be bad things, like there's an angry mob or whatever, right? And you need to deal with that because otherwise...
all in a day's work.
Yeah, right? So you don't know what these challenges are going to be. So when you flip them, you're like, I don't know if I have enough power to now complete this mission. You can only fail 2 missions in the entire game. And when you fail the second one, you've lost. So actually, you can only fail 1 mission in the entire game. Correction on myself. There's also like some of the challenges might kill civilians, which is not good. You don't want that. No. You draw a civilian card and it has like either 0, 1, 2, or 3 civilians. Most often 1 or 2 civilians. I don't
know if you're killing them or just like they're spooking them out. You're spooking them out.
Doesn't matter. You know, they're gone, right? Yeah. So if you ever lose 5. That's also game over, right?
That's how I lost my first game.
It's
the second
hard.
turn.
It's hard, right?
Yeah, it's really hard, yeah.
Actually, you know what? Like, okay, if I still have one criticism, is that civilian system. Like, sometimes it can just make the game arbitrarily hard for no reason. Like, if you draw a 3 and a 2, that's it, right?
Which
2
is
cards,
what I
it's done.
did.
Or if you draw a 0, a 1, a 1, a 1, a 2, like, that's 5 cards, right? And that's not impossible, right? I don't know if you can draw 3
No,
ones.
I think I don't think there are 3 ones.
Okay,
I think
but
there is 1 1, 2 2s.
okay, 0, 1, 2, 2. That's 4
okay.
cards,
Yeah,
right? Until you
yeah.
lose. So it's different, right?
Yeah.
It's and I think, I don't know. It just feels like this is an arbitrary amount of difficulty. That's still the one thing that makes me kind of go, but everything else I like about the game. And the one big improvement are the cards themselves. So this is what I really like, right? First of all, just very briefly, the familiars aspect of it is really cool. That there's a card that you can spend power on, right? Which is generally used to prevent bad things. That can now give you a good thing, because the familiar you can then later spend on a different mission to do something else, like a powerful ability. So that's nice. You can kind of bank an ability. But the cards themselves, they have a lot more like this tangible synergy. So a lot of the characters belong to the same family. So there's the Kelly family, I think, and then there's a Tully family or something like. There's Tilly. I'm misremembering probably their last names, but and there's multiple members of that family, right, within the deck, and so when you kind of stack them together, they power each other up. And the weird part there is that like sequencing is also important, because if you play this after that might be, like there's a lot of like choices, right? There's no right way to play these synergy cards, because how you play them in what order will produce different effects. And of course, what you draw, you're not going to draw all of them necessarily in one hand, right? So again, there's variability within that feels well designed and it's interesting, right? And so that's nice. But on top of that, there's like sets now. So there's sets of missions and jurors and familiars that will give you a very different vibe of a game each time you play. So first of all, they increase replayability. Great. Second of all, they made the cards a lot more interesting. Great. Third, they added like these nice little touches with the familiars and the challenges, and made the challenges more interesting. Also great, right? It's just upsides, and it makes me now want to return to the game.
But boy, is it hard. I mean, it's so difficult. The first game that I played, I lost so very badly, and then we played together, because it is a solo game, but like any solo game, you can play it with someone else. And you know what really broke me? Those cards at the top that are secret, that have the numbers on, that you will reveal when you go to trial.
How much you need to convince each juror.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Because that is kind of the pivoting point of the game. And I just couldn't, like, I didn't know whether to use an ability to look at one of those cards, or maybe use that witch for something else, or it was just so hard. And then when you played with me, it felt easier.
Well,
because maybe you were better at just planning things out. I think
it's because there were two of us playing a solo game, right?
And I think what you did a lot better than I did, was that synergy with the family members. I think you used that much better than I did, because you're right, there is variability in who you play first, because they will say, like, if you also have another member of the Tilly family, or for each member of the Tilly family you have in play, XXX, right? So and I think you did that much better, and I think that's probably why we were more successful. But we had a few quite heated discussions about what we were going to do with cards, didn't we? And that was good. And you're right, maybe it was easier because there were two brains figuring out what is supposed to be a solo game, but I really enjoyed that. I don't think we've played a solo game before where there's been so much discussion of, I think we should do this. And, well, no, because blah, blah, blah. And the game went on for quite a long time because we were trying to convince each other of what we should do.
That's because there's so much choice within the cards and how you play them. And I think that's a sign of the game that remains interesting, right? Because, again, these witch cards, you're not going to have exactly the same set every time you play. Different, because you drop the cards for the game. And you get a starting set for your first time play, right?
Yeah, so what it will tell you is put these in your coven, which is the cards that you will be playing with, and put these in your recruit pile, I think it's called, that you will be able to get later on. So, but generally in the game, what you will do is with these 24 cards, you will pick up 2, choose one to go in the coven, choose one to go in the recruit pile, and then carry on until you've gone through all the cards. So you can build it up yourself. But yeah, it gives you a starting idea, because you would have no idea the first time you play it of what these witches do or how good they are with each other.
And now this is the thing that makes me want to come back to it. First of all, there's different sets of missions, and different sets of jurors and different sets of familiars. So that's interesting. There is a campaign as there was previously as well. So that's nice. But because of how much more interestingly the cards interact with each other, I'm like, yeah, okay, I want to try
the campaign.
The campaign or different sets. I guess the campaign is a good way to go through all of it.
I would really like to try the campaign.
So there we go. I think Witchcraft is the better game out of the two. Witchcraft or Resist. It feels like more like, I guess, a 1.5 version. Like an updated way to approach Resist. And it's kind of a shame because Resist has a very compelling setting and also equally good artwork, right? But there's something about this that just plays better and feels better and is more interesting to return to. You definitely don't need to own both, right? If you have Resist, I would say just keep Resist, because there's broadly very similar games.
Unless you really, really love Resist and also the theme of this really you find compelling.
Or if you played out Resist but want more, right? So you'll broadly get a very similar game, but a slightly different challenge. But I don't think anyone needs to have both. No. One is fine. If I was to buy one, I would pick Witchcraft definitely. But if I had Resist and I hadn't played it out yet, I think I'd just stick with the Resist maybe. Yeah.
Before we move on to our last game, Adam wrote in to answer the question I posed in a previous episode about wear and tear. They say, during the pandemic, my wife and I played a lot of Terraforming Mars, so much that I lost 14 two-player games in a row. Over that time, a number of our bronze cubes started to lose their colour. That made them very hard to distinguish from the silver cubes, which are a couple of millimetres larger, but worth 5 times the value. Gameplay was impacted by this, as there's a lot of cube counting to do. Eventually, we got a replacement set from friends who we'd introduced to the game and had bought into the big box Kickstarter. That Kickstarter included a set of special fancy resource cubes, so they gave us their set of standard ones from the same Kickstarter. The only game we have sleeved and also have splurged on a neoprene mat is our copy of Battlestar Galactica. That's because the secrecy of the cards is crucial. It would be licensing hell to ever be reprinted. Buying the first 2 expansions on eBay cost more than I ever want to pay for a board game. And while I don't play it often, we've played it once or twice a year in most years for over a decade.
I mean, I'm not going to begrudge anyone for wanting to protect the one game that they really care about, right? I think there's a subtle difference between doing that and actually, scratch that. I think there's a big difference between doing that and, sleeving every game you buy and then buying one board game a week. I think there's a difference of impact here that is profound and important. As always, whenever we run away with our behaviors, we kind of lose sense of what's important. And I just think it's that. I think there's a difference in that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with sleeving the one game that you really care about.
Our last game is Revive, which comes from publisher Aporta Games by designers Helen Meissner, Christian Amundsen, Ostby, Elif Svensson and Anna Wormland, and art by multiple artists. I know I butchered all of those names and I'm really very sorry.
It's okay, I forgive you.
Thank you.
You said that as if I said it seriously. Thank you, Efka, I appreciate that. So this was a surprise, wasn't it? Okay, so this is very first impressions because we only played it the once, and it was just yesterday.
Yes.
But
Technically, we played some of it today as well. because it went overnight.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, yeah. We did start it at like 11 or something like that, didn't we? Yeah, okay. It was really good, though, I have to say. For a Eurogame that we started playing at 11 o'clock at night, it kept up its pace and kept me glued in, entertained. You know, this is the first time I'm playing a game by a Porter Games, so I didn't know what to expect. But I really liked this. I really, really enjoyed it. And I thought it was very strong and very solid. So standard, familiar, medium weight Eurogame territory, medium leaning towards heavy, let's say, you know. Different people have a different impression of what that is. But I think for general audiences, that's an apt description. What you do in this game thematically is that 5,000 years have passed on Earth after...
Is it Earth?
I think it's meant to be Earth. Okay. Mass destruction has happened. Now it's just ice and crystals and a little center hexagon in the middle of the map board where all of us reside, and we will split off into various directions, exploring the ice and building cities and gathering resources and, I don't know, making Earth exploited again? Is that the setting? I think
we've been living underground, maybe. I think that centre hex is like the hole that we pop up out of.
Yeah.
To go, is everything all right now? Oh, yeah, okay, let's have a look.
Yeah, it's weird because it feels like, I guess that's apt because after 5,000 years, there would be like crystals growing everywhere, wouldn't there?
Crystals?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, well, because there's crystals in the game, and that's the wild resource, right? And they're like all around the board.
I don't know how we've survived underground this whole time, or what has happened underground this whole time.
Mole power.
I don't think we play moles, no.
No, but like we harness the power of moles as humans, you know.
I see.
And then we use that to...
Yeah.
This is going nowhere.
Yeah, but so we are looking for food. We are looking for resources.
Yeah.
In order to power other things. We're looking for food, gears, books.
Yeah.
I don't know, are in the wasteland, I guess. I don't know.
Books are meant to found cities.
Yeah.
Gears are meant to found resource extraction sites. And food is meant to power exploring the ice.
Yeah.
Right? So the theme is generic, right? Let's not beat around the bush.
I think we've made it sound a lot more dull than it actually is.
Yeah.
Because the gameplay is not dull at all.
No, it's exciting. And I think the two great things about Revive is, one, right? Like I said in Unmatched, it does not forget how exciting it is to constantly reveal things. And you reveal things in this game all of the time, because not only is the entire board covered in these ice tiles, hexagonal tiles, that you pay money to get points and flip over, and then what's on the other side is incredibly exciting, not just to you, but also to other players. Because if you're revealing something, you might orientate it in a way that it might benefit you and others, or you more and others less, or maybe you want something from this tile that is good to you, but the other things on this tile, on that tile, are good to other people, and so it's kind of like a win-win situation.
Well, there was that one instance where I just wanted... So each time you explore, you will get another card, which is effectively like another action option that might give you resources or something longer down the line. But I just wanted to explore to get the card and the victory points. So that's kind of all I wanted. So I decided to explore somewhere very far away because I had a special ability that didn't require that I spent loads of food to explore like very far away. So I turned this tile over that I thought was in the middle of nowhere. No one was anywhere near it, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly, as soon as I did that, it was like putting down like honey outside, all the wasps, you know, coming down, and all the bees coming down, all the flies coming down to eat this honey. Because every other player seemed to just swarm onto this tile suddenly, because it was actually an incredibly good tile.
Yeah.
Because one of the abilities that it gave you, if you built next to it, was to move these little pips around your board, which will unlock other abilities, right? So it was actually very good. And then I thought, I should probably build there at some point because I want this stuff too. So yeah, it's a very strange like ecosystem in that way, right?
Right, yeah. And the way I would describe the movement in this game, right? Which is very bizarre. Basically, whenever you place a piece on the map, that's where you are. Because at first, it's like you're in the center, right? But as soon as you place your first piece, that's where you are, and you count distance from it. And every time you want to go further than the next hex, you have to pay 1 food for each hex between you and the thing you want to interact with. Like whether you want to build like a new city or a new resource extraction site, or, you know, you want to explore a tile, you always have to pay a surplus of food for the distance, right? So what that does in effect to this game is it creates this economy map system that I would liken to, you know, having velocity in outer space. If you gain speed, you will go in that one direction, right? And you will just kind of like boom, right? But then if you want to maneuver and take a turn and go somewhere else, it requires an inordinate amount of effort to pivot and kind of go, right? So that's the feeling that this game gave me, of like, you kind of like pick a cardinal direction that you think, oh, you know, I'll move into that way, and suddenly people start revealing things, right? And it's like, wait a minute, I need to slingshot around Saturn here, right? Like, and I think that's what makes it so cool. And at first I thought, okay, there's kind of 4 corners that we can all go to diagonally or orthogonally, whatever, right? There's 4 players. We're all going to go in all our separate directions, you know, free from interaction, right? But that's not what happens at all, right? It's like, oh, you've revealed things that are relevant to me. I'm going to suddenly pivot and go that way towards you and build things where you don't want me to build them. And that's the second thing that's great about this game. It is effectively like your own resource management puzzle, right? Because it plays a lot like standard games. You have like basically action spaces where you can play cards to, depending on which orientation you play them at. That's the things that you're going to get on the card. So there's things at the top of the card and things at the bottom of the card. And you have slots where you can put those cards into your player board. Once the slot is taken, it's taken. You can't play anything else there. But then you can take a reset turn to get all the cards into the rest zone. You get the cards from the rest zone back as available cards, and so that feels very standard, right? But what makes it interesting is this like interactivity of like the map that it really manages to tie everyone together into this shared interactive space. So I like that a lot. I like a Eurogame that, you know, lets you do your own puzzle, but also like what others are doing is important. And it also gives you this serotonin hit of constantly revealing things, you know? So whether it's these ice tiles or there's these little bonus crates as well, you get to reveal them. And finally, there's the final reveal at the end of the game, your secret goals, right? So again, that's pretty standard in a lot of games. You know, you score for this, right? But not only do you keep that secret for the entire game, you can also multiplier it, right? Which is also the end game trigger, which feels so impactful. There's these what our friend called alien eggs, right?
Egg brains.
Egg brains, yeah. These weird tiles that, like, if you get them, they're multipliers for the things that you're already doing and getting points for, which feels immense. And so that's where the majority of your score comes from. And at the end of the game, you get to reveal that and say, look, these are my secret goals, right? Like, I don't know. There's just a lot of like fun moments in this like pretty tight game. It felt like, you know, yeah, there's a lot to chew on here. I felt like the person who knew the game well won without question.
Yeah.
It was our first game, so I mean, I was proud to have come second, but
and in fact got their highest score they said that they'd ever got in that game.
Yeah.
Because we did not that great. I did terribly, but I tend to do terribly in new kind of big Euros anyway, because there
unless it's Concordia.
Because there are so many things that I just get overwhelmed by. There are so many choices to make. Do I move up this track? Do I reveal? Do I build? Do I go here? Do I do that? Is that my target for the future? Is that what I'm working towards? And I just tend to flip-flop between things too much, and I don't have a solid idea of where my engine is going and how to build it. You know, I've built some kind of weird contraption rather than building like the car. I haven't taken the wheels and a steering wheel and a roof. I've taken like this bit from a plane, this bit from a bike, this bit from a washing machine, and this bit from an electric toothbrush, and stuck them all together and hope for the best. And that's kind of what I tend to do.
I would buy that, whatever that product is.
Yeah,
5 of those.
I don't think that's so. But so I really, really enjoyed this. But I would like to play it again, just so that I can figure out how to play this game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure that any of the things that I did were really very helpful.
Well, Elaine, in the month of May,
Yes.
there is an expansion coming for this game, so you better get good, right?
Yeah, right.
Before the expansion arrives, because, you know, there'll be new things then to figure out and be bad and
Looking
all
forward
good
to
at. Yeah, I think this game is nothing like Terra Mystica, right? But I do want to invoke that comparison because of both games having that sort of like map element where you kind of want to be next to each other for very different reasons than in Terra Mystica, right? Like, and it also has asymmetrical factions. Again, there's some overlap. I feel like if you like that game but want less tracks, right? Although no, there are tracks. You go up on your own personal technology track. But one thing that I found very common with Terra Mystica is that you have to kind of squeeze as much out as you can. You have to very brute force it, and then if you manage to squeeze it just right, you know, you suddenly start finding yourself like bouncing into all these synergies on your track board, and your technologies unlocking, and like things feeding into each other. There's this great system where like you initially can't do a lot because of the action card restriction, how many you can play, so you need to take like your reset turns often. But actually I've only reset I think 4 times in the entire game, which, you know, it really ramps up towards you not having to reset, and you get into this flow of like this chains into that, and suddenly I unlocked all these free actions as well. Like, and if I just do this, and like I'll do this, and I'll build this thing, and I'll get these resources from there, and they'll unlock this bonus thing, and they'll go in for this and that. It's fun. It's got that Eurogame fun, but it's got that interactivity. It's got these surprises. It's got, you know, that bounce and zing that many Eurogames these days forget to have. So this was refreshing and fun and a good time, and I want to play more of it.
Yeah, what I really liked about it, which I don't think you see that often in Euros, was the way the cards worked, where you start with 3 cards out, and those are the actions that you can choose from to do, and then you have 3 cards that are face down that you will get at a later time. But as you buy new cards, or as you get new cards, they go into your like active area, so you could use those immediately for the next turn, or even on the same turn, because you get 2 actions per turn, so you could buy a card and then immediately use that. And then if you don't use them, they don't go away, they just stay there. So if you don't use them for the action, they just stay there. So then you have more choice of what you might want to do on the next turn, so you can kind of plan for the turn, you know, somewhere down the line by keeping this card. Or the other thing I liked about it was that there are abilities that will let you take a card back out of a slot to put another card in. So although you only have 4 available spaces, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom initially to put the cards into, to slot the cards into, there is an option, you know, that you could have to take one out, put something else in, and you can use that immediately. Also, there's just so much like interactivity with the cards.
It reminded me of Ginkgopolis, you know, like the card part of Ginkgopolis, because there's something, it's not the same, but there is some similarity about like these cards having like this rotational cycle, and like you purchase it and suddenly it's like, oh, it's within your ecosystem now, and it's sort of flowing, if that makes sense. It's not like a perfect translation, you know, the rules are different, but there is that vibe element of these cards and how they flow in this game to how they flow in Ginkgopolis. So I don't know if I'm being reductive here by comparing it to other titles. I wouldn't want to say, oh, this is a mashup of Terra Mystica and Ginkopolis, because I think that
not.
no, it's not. It's its own thing, very clearly. But these sort of like pulls from other games are almost inevitable now. Like there's so many Euro games that associations inevitably come to mind. And I don't know. I feel like that's a compliment anyway, right? Do you know what I mean? If you're comparing it to, well, a game I really love and a game that I thought is okay, but everyone else loves, right? that's good, right?
Yeah. Looking forward to playing this one again and playing the expansion. To round off this episode, we've got one more piece of correspondence. Nico wrote in with a couple of important points from previous episodes. They say, first, I remember Efka saying something about Nintendo only producing commemorative koi sets with the Nintendo characters on them. This is, in fact, untrue. As an avid collector of playing cards from around the world, I can say for a fact that they still produce some of their original sets. These cards are very small, but importantly, not nearly as fragile as the ones Efka talked about in that episode. You can comfortably shuffle them without any worry of ruining them. And then they put in some pictures of the sets, which are very pretty. Second, Elaine mentioned something about inventing sweet crispy pancakes. I'm happy to tell you those already exist. They're a Danish dessert known as godrød. I have no idea how to say it. I'm so sorry. But it translates as good advice. They're sweet, thin, crispy and very delicious. They're made in a sort of intricate looking waffle iron and come out as thin, crispy, waffly pancake cookies. And they sent some pictures of that as well.
Oh, they really shut us down there with that email, right?
Like, you're wrong and you're wrong.
Yeah.
I never, just one thing, I never claimed to have invented I said, does this already exist? Please let us know if it exists.
I'm sure that Nintendo, not sure, like, I understand that Nintendo make other sets, but like during my very cursory search at the time, there were none available that they were selling. They on their web store, it was only Super Mario characters, which is cool anyway. But I'm certain that they make others and others exist, and they are known for that originally. So I imagine they would keep that going, wouldn't they? Anywho, thank you for writing in. Thank you for letting us know.
And thank you to everyone else who has written in for this episode and for all the other episodes. Lastly, Efka, what is on the bonus episode this week? I know you've already told us, but please remind us, and how can people find it?
Well, they can find it by becoming a supporter of No Pun Included, which is our YouTube channel, and this podcast, Talk Cardboard. If you want to find our YouTube channel, go to youtube.com/nopuncluded. If you want to support us and get more episodes of this podcast, then go to patreon.com/nopuncluded, where you will be providing, for a monthly fee, you will be providing support to one of the few independent board game reviewers out there. That's us. And you'll get the bonus episodes, not just this bonus episode, all the bonus episodes, because every time we make one of these, there's a bonus episode. So on this bonus episode, we will have Halls of Hegra, which is a solo game that you have played. I haven't, so you'll be telling me all about it, and you think it's
good.
Nice. And
spoiler.
We'll also be talking about My Island, which is the sequel to Reiner Knizia's My City.
Finally, what is the game of the episode?
Oh, this is a tough one. All the games are like,
we liked them all.
Yeah, we liked all of them. I have to give it to Revive, I think, maybe. It's a tough call between Witchcraft and Revive. But I just haven't played a Eurogame in so long that impressed
that really spoke
me.
To you, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Revive. And with that, why don't you say goodbye, Elaine?
Goodbye, Elaine.
Goodbye, Elaine.